They told me I was too old for this kind of love, too settled, too wise. But when he slipped into my bed that morning, I didn't move away. I moved over. Some homes feel too quiet, but mine had grown used to the silence. 51 years of life had taught me how to fill space, with routines, with books, with deadlines. I had my work, my coffee rituals, my quiet porch where the wind spoke more than people did. And I convinced myself that was enough. But if I'm honest, there were nights I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering when I stopped being touched. Not physically necessarily, though that too, but emotionally, spiritually. Like no one had truly seen me in a long, long time. So when I posted the ad for a tenant, I told myself it was just practical. The spare room wasn't being used. And a little extra rent money never hurt. I wasn't looking for company. I wasn't looking for anything at all. And then one Saturday morning, he arrived. His name was Liam, 24, photography grad student. He had these calm, observant eyes that made you feel like he was already framing the moment in his mind. Polite, soft-spoken, and disarmingly gentle in the way he carried himself. When I first opened the door and saw him standing there with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, I felt a flutter I didn't recognize. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it was the sudden reality of someone stepping into my quiet world. I showed him around the house, the kitchen, the living room, the guest bathroom. He didn't say much, just nodded, smiled, asked if he could help carry anything. He declined. He moved in that day, and just like that. My house felt different, not louder, not chaotic, just warmer. Like someone had opened a window I didn't know was sealed shut. It was little things at first. He always made tea at night, jasmine or mint. And somehow I found myself doing the same, our schedules silently aligning like we'd choreographed it. We'd bump into each other in the kitchen, sometimes laugh at nothing, and then return to our corners like polite strangers. But I noticed how he looked at me, not in that wide-eyed, youthful way, but in a quiet, deliberate way, like he was curious about the life behind my eyes. And I started to wonder, had anyone looked at me like that in years? One evening I came downstairs after a long bath, hair still wet, robe tied casually. He was at the kitchen counter, editing photos on his laptop. I apologized for the way I looked, half joking, half embarrassed. He glanced up and didn't say a word. He just looked at me. Really looked. His eyes held mine for a second longer than they should have. Not lustful, not bold, just aware, present. And I felt it, that unfamiliar thrum under my skin. I told myself it was nothing, just a young man being polite. I went to bed early that night, but I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the sound of the kettle, the way his fingers moved on the keys, the way his eyes lingered on mine. I closed my eyes, heart quietly racing, and whispered into the dark, "What are you doing, Samantha?" The days blurred, but our rhythm settled. He was respectful, quiet, always offering to help. One afternoon, while I was assembling a bookshelf I'd ordered online, he walked in and offered to help. I said I was fine, but he stayed. He knelt beside me, our shoulders brushing. His hand guided mine to the screws, warm and steady. We laughed when we fumbled. His breath was close, so close I could feel it on my neck when he leaned in. I don't remember what we talked about. I just remember the air between us. It was thick with something I couldn't name, or maybe didn't want to. I started noticing the way his presence changed the way I moved around my own home. I'd linger a little longer in the kitchen. I'd spend more time brushing my hair. I'd double-check how my robe sat on my shoulder. I told myself it was silly. He was just a tenant. Boy, really. But one rainy afternoon, he knocked on my door. "Can I ask you something?" he said. He nodded. He asked if he could take a few photos of me for a lighting project. I hesitated, but then I looked at him. His eyes weren't demanding. They were hopeful, curious. Said yes. I wore a simple tank top. No makeup. My hair tied loosely. I sat by the window, the soft gray light spilling across my face. He didn't say much. Just click, buzz, adjusted, clicked again. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a woman past her prime. I felt like a story worth telling. I looked up at him between shots, and something shifted. His lens lowered, and for a moment he didn't look like my tenant. He looked like someone who saw something in me I'd forgotten was there. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew that something inside me had been touched. Gently, sweetly. And now I couldn't unfeel it. This wasn't supposed to be a story. It was just a rental agreement. But I was starting to wonder, was I the one being slowly invited in? Have you ever felt something shift in a moment that seemed so ordinary? If this story is touching your heart, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. You won't want to miss what comes next. There's a strange kind of silence that grows between two people who are trying not to acknowledge the truth. It's not empty. It's full of glances not taken, words not said, touches that never quite happen, but almost do. That's what it became with Liam. A long, lingering almost. We lived under the same roof, shared the same air, and yet, every moment between us felt like something waiting to happen. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was romanticizing a boy's politeness, that it was loneliness playing dress-up as desire. But then the small things started to feel like signs. One morning, I passed by the bathroom just as he opened the door. He was shirtless, a towel slung around his waist, droplets still glistening on his collarbone. He paused, looked at me, and then he smiled. A slow, quiet smile that lingered in the air long after he closed his door. I walked to the kitchen with trembling fingers, and when I touched my teacup, it was like my skin had become aware of itself again. It happened again on a Sunday afternoon. I was curled up on the couch with a book, and he walked in with his camera. He said the light in the room was beautiful. I nodded, expecting him to start photographing the window or the shelves. Instead, he raised the lens to me. Froze. "I can stop if you're uncomfortable," he said softly. I shook my head.